Welcome back, seekers of forgotten lore, to eternal Olympus. Last time, the Olympian court was established, but Hera, Queen of Heaven, driven by ambition and a demand for propriety, arranged a great wedding feast. However, a mysterious gift, a magnificent golden throne, revealed its true nature, trapping the queen in its unbreakable grip. Panic erupted on Mount Olympus. The place that should have been filled with the music and laughter of a double wedding feast now echoed with piercing screams not of joy, but of pure, unadulterated rage. Hera, Queen of Heaven, the powerful sister and wife of Zeus, the very embodiment of dignity, order, and propriety, was now ignominiously trapped on the very gift she had been praising just moments before. The magnificent golden throne, now revealed as an intricate gilded trap, had turned her pride into a public humiliation. The golden arms of the throne, meant for resting, were now clamped around her like unyielding vices. They were forged with an ancient cunning magic, a craft so profound that even Zeus himself could not comprehend it. "Zeus, you fool! Do something!" she bellowed, her regal face flushed crimson with fury and shame. Zeus, king of the gods, the cloud gatherer, who had just established the order of the cosmos after a 10-year war, now stood baffled by a piece of furniture. He strode forward, grasping the golden arms. He channeled his own thunderous strength into his hands, attempting to bend or break them. It was useless. The metal did not bow, did not even scratch. He let out a roar of frustration, his impotence before the entire court only fueling his anger. The other gods swarmed around, each trying their own method. Poseidon, the earth shaker, brought his mighty trident, attempting to pry the hidden joints. The spear that could shake continents, however, could not budge the throne's mechanisms by a single inch. It remained immobile, as if forged from destiny itself. Hades, on a rare visit from the underworld for the wedding, even tried to use his chilling, dark power, attempting to make the metal decay or dissolve, but the brilliant golden throne seemed immune to the touch of darkness. And then, of course, came Ares, the god of war, brawny, handsome, Hera's new pride, the son who believed all problems could be solved with pure, unthinking violence. "Stand aside," he growled, shoving Zeus out of the way. Ares strained, his divine muscles bulging under his skin, attempting to use his brute force to rip the throne apart. He pulled, he pushed, he shoulder-charged it. He even struck it with the flat of his sword. All he received in return was a dull, mocking clang. Sweat beaded on his strong brow, but the throne held firm. Worse, it seemed the more Ares struggled, the tighter the golden bands constricted around Hera, drawing fresh, ear-splitting shrieks of pain and fury from the queen. Aphrodite, standing nearby, had watched her warrior lover with confidence, certain his unmatched strength would soon prevail. But as Ares began to pant, stepping back in defeat, her confidence vanished, replaced by a flicker of genuine alarm. Desperate, tormented by his wife's unending screams and the embarrassment of his entire court, Zeus made an impetuous decision, a rash proclamation that would shift the balance of power on Olympus forever. He raised his scepter. "I declare," he boomed, his voice echoed by a distant crack of thunder, silencing the hall. "Whoever, whatever being, god or demigod, mortal or monster, can free Hera from this throne, shall receive the noblest prize of all, the hand of Aphrodite in marriage." The hall fell into a stunned silence. Ares stopped panting, whirling to face his father with pure rage, his eyes bloodshot. "What did you say?" he bellowed. "Everyone knows she is to be mine. Our own wedding is prepared." Zeus waved him off dismissively. Be silent! You are the strongest here, and you failed. My word is given. Aphrodite was no longer merely alarmed. She was appalled. She, the embodiment of perfect beauty, the jewel of the cosmos, was being offered up as a prize for a mechanical puzzle. She looked at Ares, then at Zeus, her lips chewing nervously as she tried to calculate just how disastrous this situation had become. So, who could have crafted such a sophisticated trap? One that could imprison the Queen of Heaven herself and embarrass the most powerful gods in existence? Who possessed such intellect and skill? The answer lay not on the mountain's peak, but deep beneath the sea, in a story of cruel rejection and a resentment forged in volcanic fire. Let us rewind time, back to the day Hera was pregnant with her first child. She had been filled with ambition. She would bear Zeus a perfect heir, a god who combined Zeus's power with her own dignity, a child who would cement her status as queen for eternity. But when the baby, Hephaestus, was born, her hopes shattered. The child was not radiant, not perfect. He was swarthy, ugly, and pitifully diminutive. In a paroxysm of rage and bitter disappointment at her broken dream, Hera did the unforgivable. She did not just reject her child. She snatched the newborn infant, and with an act of unimaginable cruelty, hurled him from the summit of Mount Olympus, as one might discard a broken piece of pottery, a piece of trash that stained her perfection. The baby let out a thin, wailing cry, a sound lost in the vastness of the sky as he fell, bouncing once off a sharp cliffside before plunging deep into the boundless ocean below. A terrible, guilty silence settled on Olympus in the wake of her act. But Hephaestus did not die. Fate had a different path for him. He was rescued by two kind-hearted sea goddesses who had witnessed the horrifying fall from beneath the waves. Thetis, a graceful Nereid who would one day become the mother of the great Achilles, and Eurynome, a gentle Oceanid. They spirited the injured infant away to the remote volcanic island of Lemnos, hiding him in a subterranean cave where Hera's wrathful eye could never find him. It was here, in the darkness and the warmth of the island's natural forges, that the rejected child found his destiny. Hephaestus grew up nurtured by the sea nymphs, but the fall from heaven had permanently damaged his leg, leaving him with a permanent awkward limp. His body grew, but it never attained divine majesty. He was clumsy, his features slightly contorted, his black curly hair a constant disordered mess from the soot. He was, by divine standards, a fearful sight. Yet, in absolute contrast to his exterior, Hephaestus possessed a soul of gold. He was endowed with faithfulness, an innate kindness, and a remarkably equable temper. And most importantly, he had a gift. Drawn to the volcanic fires and metals of Lemnos, Hephaestus discovered he had an uncanny, supernatural talent for craft. He became the greatest smith the cosmos had ever known. He forged unimaginable, intricate jewelry singing, hairpins, self-adjusting bracelets to gift to Thetis and Eurynome, his saviors. The fire and the metal obeyed him as if they were his friends, bending to his will. But deep inside, Hephaestus yearned to return to Olympus. He knew it was his true home, his birthright, regardless of what his mother thought. Yet he was smart enough to know that, with his appearance, his broken body, he could not simply knock on the gates. He needed a grand entrance. He required a measured act of revenge. A single brilliant stroke that would not only prove his strength of mind and his right to godhood, but would serve as his calling card to heaven, one they absolutely could not ignore. And so, in his hidden forge, Hephaestus set to work on a masterpiece. He poured all his skill, all his genius, and all the quiet burning pain of a rejected son into one object, a magnificent golden throne. designed perfectly to appeal to a proud queen. A gift that concealed a magical, automatic locking mechanism, so complex that only its creator could possibly know the secret to release it. And now, back on Olympus, Hephaestus's plan had succeeded beyond his wildest dreams. Hera was still trapped. Ares, sweating and defeated, had fallen back. Zeus was at his wit's end. At that exact moment, through the chaos and Hera's renewed shrieks, a polite but insistent cough cut through the commotion. Ahem, all the gods turned. The hall fell silent. There, in the grand entryway, with a gentle smile on his lopsided, soot-stained face, stood an ugly, short man, limping awkwardly on a support stick. It was Hephaestus. "Hello, mother," he said, his voice surprisingly mild. "Having problems?" Hera was stunned into silence. Zeus stared. The other gods instinctively recoiled, parting to let the ugly little creature hobble past. They looked at him with a mixture of disgust, confusion, and sudden dawning curiosity. Hephaestus limped slowly toward the golden throne. He admired his handiwork, then looked at the woman who had thrown him away, who now stared back at him with a complex, unreadable expression. He turned to Zeus, still wearing that gentle, lopsided smile. "I understand," he said, "that there is some sort of reward. Every eye in the hall, divine, nymph, and spirit, swiveled as one to land on Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty, who always wielded her power with absolute confidence, was no longer just chewing her lip, her cheeks flushed with a feeling she rarely experienced. Pure, unadulterated horror. She, the embodiment of perfect love and beauty, the prize of the cosmos, could not believe she was about to be given to this. Ares, the handsome god of war, growled like a wounded beast and started forward, his hand on his sword, ready to prevent this travesty with violence. But Zeus raised a hand, a single sharp look of kingly authority stopping Ares in his tracks. The oath had been sworn, and Zeus, above all, must keep his word. Hephaestus gave a small, quiet nod. He turned back to the throne. He needed no hammer, no lever, no brute force. He simply reached out a calloused, soot-stained finger and pressed a hidden sequence on the intricate golden carvings, a mechanism known only to him. Instantly, magically, the arms of the throne clicked and swung open, releasing their prisoner with a graceful sigh. Hera was free. The Queen of Heaven rose to her feet. She adjusted her royal robes, smoothed the creases, and straightened herself to her full, stately height, fixing the hall with a look that dared anyone to speak. A look that broadcast to the world that the entire situation had been under her control the whole time. She offered no word of thanks, and certainly no word of apology. It was a moment of sweet, perfect revenge for Hephaestus, but his essential good nature kept him from gloating. He wasn't driven by rage, but by a simple, powerful desire to be accepted, to be useful, to be home. He had endured a lifetime of rejection. He knew he was ugly. He knew Aphrodite did not love him. He knew, with absolute certainty, that even when he claimed her as his prize, she would betray him, that she would slip often into the bed of his handsome brother Ares. But, perhaps, in that moment, even that didn't matter as much as the simple fact that he was, at last, home. And Hera, the queen, rather than acknowledge her maternal cruelty, she maintained a dignified, frosty silence. But secretly, the better part of her was rather proud of her elder boy. He had proven his worth with intellect and craft, in a way her favored son Ares, with all his brawn, never could. In time, Hera and all of Olympus would grow genuinely fond of the lame smith. Zeus formally welcomed Hephaestus, known to the Romans as Vulcan, as the newest member of the Olympian Dodecatheon. He was given an entire valley on Olympus for his personal forge. And to assist the greatest smith in the cosmos, Zeus assigned the Cyclopes, masters of fire and metal, to be his assistants. Anything Hephaestus did not yet know, like the forging of thunderbolts, they could teach him. Together, they would fashion the most remarkable objects the world would ever see. The god of fire, of blacksmiths, artisans, sculptors, and metalworkers, was finally home. And at his side, reluctantly, was the most beautiful wife in the universe, a wife who did not love him.
The double wedding feast was back on. Hephaestus has returned, claiming his birthright and the most beautiful goddess as his prize. The great wedding feast of Olympus is back on track.
What happens when Zeus and Hera, and the unlikely couple Hephaestus and Aphrodite, celebrate their nuptials together? And what culinary challenge will Zeus issue that leads to the creation of ambrosia, the food of the gods? Join us next time on Eternal Olympus for the divine wedding feast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and journey with us again into the mists of myth,